messing around.
Ooh, a loft meeting. You know it's a loft meeting. I feel like I can stop saying it now that these are my favorite things ever to record because I get to hear from you guys. I get to hear from you guys about what you're thinking, how the show has affected you or impacted you or got you through breakups or makeups or pregnancies and births and helped with grieving and just needing to laugh and bonding with new roomies and all the things that I love to hear about. I also get all of your, conspiratorial thoughts on the show, which I love. Love a conspiracy theory. All right, here we go. We are going to dive right in. It says, hey, Hannah and Lamorne, if you're here. Ooh, a little shady. But mostly Hannah. Well, look, it's me. So perfect. I could not stop thinking about you while watching Exes. Knowing your take on Exes and the fact that Cece's not in this episode too much, I wonder how you feel about Jess leading on, big air quotes, her ex. Do you think it's possible anyone could be friends with their ex asking for a friend who insists her ex is over her and it's normal to hang out weekly? Help me convince her to move on. Hannah. Thanks, Tiona. I feel like Lamorne and I have discussed this many a time on this podcast, but what's funny is that I had forgotten about this episode. And so when we did the rewatch and the recap, like so much to say, because Lamorne and I both have different points of view. I think you guys all know by now, but I'll say it again for any first-time listeners, that I do not stay friends with my exes. Now, that does not mean I leave on bad terms. It doesn't mean that I dislike them. It doesn't mean that I have any, bad thoughts about them or whatever. Nothing. I just... What does he say in the episode? I feel like Nick says it in the episode, you two have seen each other naked and now you guys are friends. This is how it is, right in the beginning of the episode. That was my thing. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I also don't love a double standard, right? So yeah, maybe I could be friends with my ex, but I don't really know if when I'm dating somebody, I want to hang out with their ex-girlfriend, right? And then I can't be a hypocrite. Can't be I'm friends with all of my exes, but that girl that you saw naked a bunch and did a bunch of fun stuff with, let's go have dinner with her. So not for me. Not for me. And so I had to be honest and make sure that I was also doing the same thing. And keeping my, my ex history clean. All that to say, I know a lot of people who are friends with their exes. They do figure it out. They do make it work. So I think it's just what you're personally comfortable with, and then what you want in a partner and their friendship circle and who you're going to bring into your life. And I think as long as you're honest, being truthfully honest, then it's fine, whatever works for you. So I can't convince your friend who insists that her ex is over her and they hang out together not to do it, because if it works for them and they feel comfortable doing it, then go on with your bad self. You know what I'm saying? But for me, that would be a nightmare. Would not work for me. So Tiana, I agree with you, but I can't tell someone else how to live. Can't do it. Won't do it. All right, on to the next. Here we go. Hi, Hannah and Lamorne. Insanely huge fan. But there's a small plot hole that bothers me a lot. Caps locks. In season 3, episode 3, Double Date, at the end of the episode, Jess confesses to Nick that she's weirdly good at volleyball. But then in season 3, episode 19, Fired Up, Coach makes Jess spike a volleyball before she asks to be vice principal. And she's really bad at it and even admits it, I think. Oh, we haven't recapped that episode yet. I've rewatched New Girl more times than I can count, and every time this bothers me. Would love to see if you could spin this so it makes sense. LOL. Well, we haven't recapped Fired Up yet, though. We're about to in a week or two. So I'll watch for that. So thanks for flagging it, Emma C. I'll say this, though. Haven't you ever, said you're like great at something, and in your head you think you're great at something, and then you do it and you're like kind of good at most of it, but like maybe not like great at all of it, you know? So maybe she played volleyball and she was really great at it in middle school. So she's like lived with that kind of like lore in her head of like, I'm great at volleyball. And then, gets put to the test, and like maybe she was really good at setting or serving, you know, but the spike, that wasn't her strong point. You know, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm sniffing so much. There's allergies are going crazy right now. My allergies are going crazy. That would be my theory. I feel like Jess probably was a great middle school volleyball player. And maybe she was just really good at serving, you know, methodical serving. But then being put on the spot as an adult to spike a volleyball, who wouldn't flounder? So I stand by Jess saying she's great at volleyball, maybe not realizing that this is, you know, it's kind of like a bicycle. Yeah, you don't forget how to ride a bike, but are you riding with the confidence of a 5-year-old down your street? If you pick up the bicycle for the first time in 30 years and you get on it, it can be a little wobbly. Doesn't mean you don't know how to ride a bike. I feel like that was a bit of a stretch of like of a metaphor, but you know what I'm saying. All right, moving on. I'm a huge fan of New Girl and have honestly lost track of how many times I've rewatched all the seasons. In the season 2 Thanksgiving episode where everyone's fighting at the dinner table, I still lose it every time Winston says, "When do we start eating?" Winston was so real for that, and it's honestly how any reasonable person would react to that situation. I'm also loving love caps locks, the podcast. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because my mom said this to me all the time. She loves the podcast. My mom listens to it every single week. And then she's always like, just the dynamic, my mom's British, between the two of you is brilliant. So I was like, did my mom write this letter? Anyway, the dynamic between the two of you is golden, which really brightens my day. My sister just recently moved out of state and it's been tough for me since she truly is my best friend. Oh. Our relationship reminds me a lot of the relationship between Jess and Cece, so this show has been very comforting during this time. I have a couple of questions. Would love to hear your perspectives. If you could choose any modern day song to be the theme song for New Girl, what would you choose? Or specifically, what theme song would you choose for the character you play? Oh. I also don't recall if you've addressed this on your podcast, my apologies, but if you have, but what does a typical day/week of filming New Girl look like? You know, what's funny? I think we've talked a lot about like the work, like load, I guess, on the show many times, but I don't think we've actually broken down what a typical week look like. So I'll get to that. Is each episode usually filmed in 1 week? Thank you so much for taking time to share your experiences with us fans, for answering our questions. I'm wishing you both the best. Keep doing what you're doing. Veronica. All right, Veronica. Okay, so you said what modern day song would be the theme song for New Girl? That's so hard because, of course, specifically for this show, we had Zooey Deschanel sing our theme song. I don't know how you top that. I don't know. I mean, I'd get Zooey to do another one. I mean, I don't know how you top Zooey singing the theme song. I'm not sure. Or you said, what would it be for your character? That, I wish I had a great answer for like what Cece's theme song would be. I don't know. What's so sad? What's so sad is the song that just popped into my head. Oh no. Why is this the song that popped into my head? This would not be Cece's theme song, okay? I just want to say, I will share my embarrassing thought, but it's not her theme song. Ridiculous. I don't know why. It's that song. It's the Toy Story song. No. You know that you've got a friend in me. That's what just popped into my head, you guys, because I'm like, man, Cece's just like a solid good friend. She is a truly great friend and sister, like you're expressing to Jess. And I was like, ooh, like, you know, or the Bruno Mars, like, Count on Me song. You can count on me like, but that would not be her theme song either. Can somebody recommend like a good song about like being an awesome friend that's not like for kids? Can someone help me with this, please? Okay, so what does a typical day, week of filming New Girl look like? All right, I'll break it down for you. Let's see what I can remember. It was a while ago, right? So let me think. So yes, one episode was 5 days. So we'd shoot an episode Monday to Friday. If it was a crazy episode, sometimes our Fridays, we would call them Fraturdays, because we'd shoot through the night until Saturday morning. But yes, typically it would start around 6 a.m. on a Monday. We'd all get in there, go into hair and makeup. We'd start shooting. On Tuesday afternoons during lunch, we would usually go and read the next week's episode. And it was really cool. We'd all get together, read it live for the studio and the network. We'd read it live, and for the writers, so they could hear it out loud, and they would see what works, what doesn't work, what needed to be shifted, whether that was individual lines or jokes or story. So it would be really interesting because they would then go away and work on that writing all week. Then the director of that next week episode would do like location scouting and casting for all the additional supporting roles and all of that stuff, set builds, all of that would happen from Tuesday all the way through till Monday when we would show up to work to shoot the episode. And so we were kind of on that cycle. And what we would read on the table draft, like the first version of that draft on the Tuesday, what would actually land in our hands, the production draft on, usually we would get the script, I would say Sunday before we would show up to work on Monday. And then changes, it would still even come through the week as you're shooting. You might get new pages the day before, the morning of, as you're shooting, something could fly in. So I do think that show made us actors really like adaptable and versatile, and we could, be handed things right as we're like in the middle of something and they would change something on us and we'd be like, no problem. And we would be able to just work it in. And so many people worked on that show. And I think it was, kind of wonderful that way for me. I mean, it's all I knew. It was the first big show I've ever done, and not all shows work like that, but I thought it was great. Like, it really made sure that you were being the best actor you could be, because you had to really be in your character, really be in your story, and be able to move. If the words changed, be able to memorize things very quickly, within seconds sometimes, and then be able to perform it. And so I loved it. I thought it was just the best acting, school where you got then to practice and be able to you get multiple takes on things so you can try different things in different levels. New Girl was wonderful that way. And of course, you're surrounded by the best actors. So it was so fun because you would try different things, and then that would, of course, impact their reaction of how it's coming back to you, or your reaction of how it goes back to them. And we just kept it really fun. It was just like, it was a lot of work, but wonderful work. Like the work anybody that wants to be an actor could dream of. So, the weeks were always busy, really full, lots of waiting around, right? Because you might have one scene on Wednesday or two scenes, let's say on a Wednesday, but what if it's one in the morning and one in the evening? So you're just like hanging out. You would just hang out on the studio lot, and you'd get your friends to drive on and they would come and hang out with you. And it was really nice. Like, you kind of just like lived there. We lived on the Fox lot. It was a really, really nice time. Loved it. I'm glad you guys all like it so much too. That's why we're doing this. All right. Next question. The Prince episode was Stratosphere. Stratospheric? Huh. When Nick did his high-pitched scream, 1,000,000 exclamation points. I've died 1,000 deaths laughing at that scene. I also want to say that in these dark times, I keep New Girl on my TV when I fall asleep. So I think the world is a better place. It has helped me so much. Amy C. Oh, thanks, Amy. Thank you for saying that. I remember once going over to like my cousin's house, and they had like a little TV in their room, and it was the same thing. They put a show on every night to fall asleep to, which that's not how my body's wired to go to sleep. But it was the first time I ever saw that, where he was like, oh no, it just helps me. I just doze off to my favorite show and it plays in the background. It's like, it doesn't wake you up? And he's like, no, that's how I fall asleep. And the amount of people like you, Amy, that have said that they put New Girl on and they kind of just like, it kind of hums in the background and it makes them feel comforted when they're sleeping. It's wonderful. I think that's really, really like sweet to know that our show has that impact on people and they can rewatch scenes and it just gets funnier for them. That's the dream, right? So thank you guys. Wow. Great questions. The theme song thing is going to make me crazy all week. I can't wait to see what you guys DM me. Help me out with that answer. I need a better answer. I feel like you guys would crush that. The fans would crush that, giving theme songs for every character and for the show, like a modern day theme song. You guys would crush it. So help me, because I did not crush that answer and I want to. All right, you guys, that's the show. See you next week for another Loft meeting. Remember, you can send in voice notes, videos, so I could see your faces, or you could hear your own voices here on the podcast. I love that. You can just email it over to themessaroundpod@gmail.com. As you guys know, Lamorne and I designed some podcast merch. We felt there was a need, so we designed our own. We're also going to launch a Ferguson shirt, but it'll be a limited drops. So make sure you go to themessaroundpod.com and make sure you sign up there so you can be on the mailing list and you are the first ones to get your hands on that Fergie Ferg shirt. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye. That was The Mess Around, an iHeartMedia production.
Our executive producer is Joelle Monique. Our senior producer is Abu Zafar. Bei Wang provided engineering and editing services.
Additional production from Daniel Goodman, Wendy Heisler, and Kyle Chevron. Our theme song was written and composed by Ronald Jukebox Jackson.
Catch you next time.
Bye.